Folks, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show. Just arrived here at Gold Diggers here in Hollywood. Joined by a tremendous horn player, part of the Sam Blasucci Band. Jeremy Stein, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Can you talk about where you're at in terms of having the rudiments and then getting up tonight and allowing muscle memory to take over and just going to burn to the heavens?
Yeah, well, a lot of my role as a horn player is, learning a lot of scales. You've got to learn to start with your 12 major scales, all your chords, all your arpeggios, and that prepares you with your muscle memory, like you said, to the point where they could play any chord at me, they could play anything, and I have to be able to respond. And a lot of my role in this band is to take solos and also to back up the vocalist and sort of support Sam while he's doing his thing, and I can fill in and help him out with the harmony. So it's a lot of practice on your own time, and then when you get on the bandstand, you have the freedom to sort of, take liberties.
That's the process. I want you to talk to younger cats. I know you're not an elder by any means. You're a young cat, but I want you to talk to younger cats about just letting go. There are no wrong notes. And the truth is that I believe in this band that if you hit a clam or somebody hit a clam, everybody like a flock of geese would go in that direction. But I want you to talk about that trust. How does that develop over time?
That trust really just develops with practice, honestly, and the more comfortable you get with these chords and the more comfortable you get with these notes, you know how to resolve them, and then if somebody screws up, I can help that guy out, and if I screw up, they can help me out, and it's sort of a mutual thing, but you sort of have to let go of the theory and let your muscle memory take over. And eventually...
how would you describe that? How do you get out of your own way? Is it about listening, just like big ears?
It's about trusting yourself. I think Jacob Collier talks about it a lot. People's ears really lead them to the answers, and they don't trust it enough. And if you have to let it go. It's a little scary at first for sure, but that's another thing that you can practice is letting go. And if you're with guys that you really trust, or a band that you've been playing with for a long time, it's easier to do that.
How many bands have you? I've only seen these cats. I've only seen you once. I know you haven't had a ton of gigs, but have you been in bands with trust like in this kind of fashion before? What are the antecedents? Is it about liking the people personally before any notes are put on? What is your? There is no one right answer.
I think definitely understanding where everyone else is coming from musically. The first thing I like to do when I'm in a new group is talk about who are your favorite musicians, who are your favorite groups, and that sort of leads me to be like, oh, okay, they like this, I can sort of kind of choose my options based off of that, and if they understand where I'm coming from, then they can do the same thing as well. So definitely the personal relationship for me is a huge thing. We're all musicians, we play tons of gigs with lots of people, and lots of people for the first time that we don't know. But you have to adapt to that. That's one thing, that's one type of sound, and then the trust that you develop when you've been playing with people for a long time is another sound.
Is Jeremy Stein, do you sing for your supper as a full-time live playing musician?
For right now, that's a lot of what I do,
what I'm saying is my thing is there's obviously a supply and demand issue because there's tons of great players out there, not enough gigs. But are you getting the gigs? The point is that are you able to play live and make a living, or are you also teaching as well?
I have a day job actually.
We all have side hustles. But
not full time yet. But
explain why you're still pursuing this path of spiritual truth, because you know what, I heard you play at in San Francisco, and you definitely you like to play to the heavens, and that's not commercial music.
Definitely.
So why do you keep pursuing this path? Help talk, because a lot of people will walk away from it because there's something more secure, but yet their soul in some way dies.
Yeah, well, I would be doing this for money or for free. The money is only something that I, aim for so I can keep doing it. But the path to spiritual unity is
Is it through rhythm? Is it through music?
It's definitely through music.
It is, right?
Yeah.
And yet it's tamped down in our culture.
Definitely.
They want us to just be pacified. Stuart Forgie will not pacify people. He will make them burn. You will make them. Do you do the Rasan Roland Kirk? Can you do multiple horns? Because I'd like to see that tonight. I drove thousands of miles from Tucson.
We can see if they're willing to let me do it.
But you dig that, the circular breathing stuff?
Of course, yeah. He's
Dude. So how did you work? When did you have an opportunity first to work on that stuff? That is not easy.
One of my friends showed me. He has this technique most horn players start with putting a straw in a cup of water, and you have to blow bubbles in the cup of water, and then also breathe at the same time. That's the exercise you kind of do when you're trying to learn that.
And then, did you get a chance to experiment on the bandstand in some group with it? I mean, that's not, you just don't run that out. Could you run it out like cold tonight?
I might be able to if they're willing to let me take
multiple horn. I mean, how far do you go back in the lineage of music? I mean, a lot of cats will go back to like post-bop. They won't necessarily go back to even before bebop or Dixie or even the river music. I just wonder in your lineage of, I don't like the word study, but how far do you go back in the lineage of music?
A lot of my intense studying and practicing goes back to Charlie Parker for sure, but a lot of my listening, goes pretty much as far back as Louis Armstrong and even before then.
What are some records? What are some like epic? Louis played river music. I mean, Dixieland is to me that's a different story. But what are some Louis records that you could recommend?
There's the Hot 5, Hot 7 recordings. That's the classic, of course, from that time period. You can kind of listen to those forever and just keep soaking them up. Honestly, I prefer to really stick with one record instead of listening to multiple things. I know there's multiple approaches. You can listen to every John Coltrane record, or you can listen to Blue Train and Giant Steps over and over again, and you can sort of
I think the Masters did that. They dropped the needle on one record over and over.
It's all they had at the time. It's not like you could
absolutely,
Apple Music,
dude.
Spotify,
It was brilliant. I mean, they were making. I've interviewed Kenny Burrell, and he grew up with Donald Byrd and on all those cats, and they were transcribing by ear. And there were no that's my final question for you, Jeremy, is have you gone to the academy for music? I mean, did you go to school for music?
I went to school for music for a little bit. I dropped out.
But that's okay. Where did you go?
I went to Cal State Northridge for a little bit. And I went to the Colburn School of Music when I was in high school.
Where's that?
The Colburn School of Music is in downtown Los Angeles. It's across the street from the Disney Concert Hall, and that was really where I met kids my age that were really, transcribing solos by ear, learning songs by the record, and they really put me onto the culture, and I'm really thankful for that.
Well, do you believe though, so you dropped out? My fundamental philosophy, and I'm not a musician, professional musician, but I don't believe a street language like jazz, whatever that word means, can be taught within the four walls of the academy. I don't think you can codify that language. Is that the reason you decided dropping out's the wrong word, you just left? Because to me, you'd already fulfilled your knowledge, but your enlightenment would only come through playing it with people, am I right?
Yeah, that's the funny thing about school is, there are some things that you can learn, like theory, that anybody could teach you, and then there's other things that are sort of impossible to teach, like, this guy likes to do this thing on the fourth bar of the blues before it goes to the four. Stuff like that you can't really learn in school, and I didn't really feel like I feel like I could spend my time better just going out and playing other than just studying.
Well, Jeremy Stein, I'm very much looking forward to seeing you the next couple of nights, dude. I mean, Forgie's an assassin, Diddalo's awesome. Everyone in the band is great.
Definitely.
But I don't know if you know what that word descarga means, which is like spiritual discharge, actually from your head. That was from the religious drums in Cuba. That's what I'm aiming for tonight. So you're going to take
We'll try and get you there for sure.
Thank you for being part of the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's the Jake Feinberg Show. See you later.